to them, and Nate Diaz. So he's already fought Nate Diaz, but let's go through them one by one. I mean, Ryan Garcia.
Following a battery charge, October 31st, 25. Davis was involved in a civil fight with his girlfriend.
The chaos surrounding Jervonta Tank Davis did not erupt overnight. For many who followed his rise, fall, and the troubling patterns in between, the latest scandal only confirms what they already believed about him. The whispers that once floated around his name have now grown into unavoidable headlines, pushing the boxing world into a storm of disbelief, frustration, and reluctant acceptance. What was once seen as a promising career built on knockout power and raw talent has now been overshadowed by legal battles, personal controversy, and decisions that finally caught up with him in the most public way possible. The controversy struck with force when Davis's most recent arrest surfaced, sending shockwaves through the industry. Fans, promoters, analysts, and even former allies reacted with a mix of disappointment and certainty, almost as if the inevitable had finally happened. As the news circulated, the highly promoted Jake Paul vs. Gervonta Davis showdown, once positioned as one of the biggest crossover events of the decade, crumbled instantly. Most Valuable Promotions and Netflix, which had worked tirelessly to frame the event as a global spectacle, dropped the announcement with a definitive finality. The fight was officially canceled. No rescheduling, no postponement, no lifeline. Behind the scenes, the decision wasn't sudden. According to MVP's CEO Nikisa Badarian, the team worked closely with all parties involved to handle the situation responsibly. They wanted Davis to use the spotlight as a chance to show the world he had turned a corner, that he was no longer the man haunted by past accusations. But instead of a redemption arc, the story spiraled into something darker. With two major allegations surfacing shortly after the fight was announced, MVP concluded that continuing forward was impossible. It wasn't just about optics. It was about ethics, brand safety, and the pressure from partners like Netflix, who refused to let their first major live boxing event become rooted in controversy. In the wake of the cancellation, Jake Paul's camp scrambled to salvage the event. Replacement opponents were contacted at light speed. Ryan Garcia, Terrence Crawford, Francis Ngannou, even Nate Diaz were reportedly approached as possible substitutes. It was a frantic search for someone big enough, marketable enough, and willing enough to save a card that suddenly had no main event. Ryan Garcia initially emerged as the most buzzworthy option. But contractual walls stood in the way, and Oscar de la Hoya shut down the rumors instantly. Garcia is locked into his deal with Golden Boy and DAZN, leaving no path for a surprise Netflix headliner. Rolando Romero seized the moment to ignite chaos of his own. As news of the cancellation spread, Romero mocked the entire situation. He blasted Jake Paul for chasing spectacle instead of substance, claiming he'd slap Paul around with ease. Then he turned his attention to Ryan Garcia, accusing him of dodging their contractually obligated rematch. In Romero's eyes, the boxing world was tired of the theatrics, the influencer circus, and fighters who talk more than they show up. His words added fuel to an already raging fire, creating more noise around a situation that was spiraling faster than anyone could catch it. Meanwhile, MVP confirmed that all ticket holders would receive automatic refunds. The statement emphasized professionalism and responsibility, noting how the company chose transparency over hype as the situation unfolded. But even with the logistical side handled, the question remained: who would Jake Paul fight next? Francis Ngannou became the most explosive name thrown into the mix. Fresh off high-profile bouts against Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, he was seen as the perfect crossover draw. But Ngannou dismissed the notion immediately. To him, fighting Jake Paul would be disrespectful to his skill level. After facing heavyweight giants, stepping into the ring with a YouTube return boxer made no competitive sense. No amount of money, not even $100 million, was enough to tempt him into what he saw as a glorified publicity stunt. His rejection was firm, grounded in principle, and widely respected. With Ngannou out, attention briefly turned to Floyd Mayweather. Rumors suggested that Paul's team reached out to the undefeated legend, hoping to secure a massive replacement fight. While Mayweather didn't outright close the door, he brushed off the idea as too easy, too unrealistic, and too far from serious consideration. Still, the speculation alone added intensity to an already dramatic saga, with fans wondering whether Jake Paul might somehow pull off another impossible headline. As discussions swirled, analysts across boxing media pointed to the darker reality beneath the chaos. They argued that Jake Paul's moral stance against Davis was hypocritical, given Jake's own history of misconduct allegations. They highlighted the fact that Davis's case was civil, not criminal, and that Jake had known about Davis's past long before agreeing to the fight. To them, Jake's sudden ethical pivot felt more like image control than genuine conviction. The narrative grew more complicated when Davis's full list of previous legal troubles resurfaced, detailing years of arrests, accusations, and controversies. It was a reminder that the situation wasn't new. The patterns had always been there. The fallout has effectively left Davis's career hanging by a thread. What was once a promising legacy built on knockout power is now overshadowed by personal demons and decisions that continue to derail opportunities. For Jake Paul, the show goes on. His team remains determined to find a new opponent, build a new card, and continue his progression in the sport. But for Gervonta Davis, this moment may be the most devastating setback of his life, threatening not just his boxing future but his reputation, his marketability, and the faith fans once placed in him. The saga has become a cautionary tale about how quickly hype can crumble, how fragile big events can be, and how personal behavior off-camera can destroy everything built inside the ring. Jake Paul will likely return to the spotlight with a new opponent and a new storyline. But Gervonta Davis is left facing consequences that no knockout punch can fix. Now it's your turn. Was Jake Paul justified in pulling out after Davis's arrest? Or was this all just a calculated PR move? And who should Jake face next as his 2025 headliner approaches? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.